We are watching the developments in Cuba right now, and they are unfolding at a rapid pace at this point simply because there are those who are saying that this was a terrible idea. There are those who are saying that this was the actual right idea. We need to look at it from both sides because in many different areas, it doesn't make a difference whether you're a Republican, Democrat, but in a lot of places, certainly in Little Havana, in Miami, there are those saying that even after 54 years, the best thing to do was to sit and wait out the Cuban government. You heard an interview on this show yesterday where we talked to a radio announcer from Miami who said, wait a minute, they would fold eventually in 3 months. The problem with that thinking is we have heard this for a long time. Those people who know the South Florida community will tell you that we have been hearing now for decades. Wait a few months, wait a few years, take it easy. Don't worry, the Cuban government will fall, it will all work. The Cuban government did not fall in all of this time. That is part of the issue that we are dealing with right now because we have to then discern if this was the right thing to do or if maybe somebody knee-jerked in the White House. So here's the argumentative point that we're hearing. The president decided to change course on Cuba. Why now? And there's also the relationship with Venezuela that shapes everything. So the time has come to learn more about what exactly we're talking about here and get some background. So he is a former senior official in the administrations of Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, and George W. Bush, a former presidential envoy to the Western Hemisphere. His father fled the Nazi regime and settled in Havana, where he was born. Otto Reich joins MidPoint today. Mr. Reich, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Was this, in your opinion, the right thing to do, or should we, as I just mentioned, many people have indicated, if you would have waited a few months, because of what's happening in Venezuela, this all would have worked itself out without a deal?
Now, this is one of the most inexplicable initiatives by a United States administration in the history of foreign policy. President Obama has just thrown a lifeline to a sinking ship where the longest-lasting enemies of the United States are standing on the deck. The Castro brothers, the longest lasting in the world, actually. Nobody has been in power longer than they have who is still alive. Why he did this, why he is replacing American taxpayers' dollars for the money that the Cubans used to get from the Soviet Union until it ceased to exist, and then Venezuela, nobody really knows.
All right, so then let's dig a little bit deeper into this and what I said in the introduction here. Are you then part of those who believe that we have been told by many that if you waited 3 months, this all would have worked itself out, and indeed the Castro government would have had to come to America with a greater hat in hand? Is that reality based on the fact that in 54 years nothing had happened?
Well, in 54 years nothing had happened because precisely the Castro always had an outside power versus the Soviet Union beginning in 1959, and then when the Soviet Union disappeared, Hugo Chavez stepped in with huge amounts of money, up to 25% of the gross domestic product of Cuba. Today, it may be even more what it gets from Venezuela. Venezuela is today bankrupt. If the administration had waited just a little while, we could have negotiated. I'm not against negotiation, but I am against us giving away our bargaining power to a bunch of people who have literally tried to destroy the United States, as when Fidel Castro begged Nikita Khrushchev to fire the nuclear missiles that were in Cuba already established in 1962.
So then what might be the reason here? Did the president simply not have the guts to strangle the Castro government out of control?
No, look, I cannot get, obviously, into the president's head. I mean, the people that I've talked to have a number of possible explanations. One is ideological. The left-wing Obama is coming out now that he's been unshackled from any political requirements. He doesn't have to run anymore. He's lost control of the Congress. He's not going to get any legislation through the Congress, so he is using his executive authority to reshape the world in the way that he wanted to do it when, but couldn't do it before.
Then this is really, in many ways, I'm sorry, go ahead, another way, please.
Yeah, another is that they simply cannot negotiate. I mean, for an 83-year-old general, Raul Castro, who's not in good health, the head of a bankrupt government, to out-negotiate the president of the United States so clearly, to humiliate him, it really undermines the image of the United States around the world. People are laughing. I mean, there's a picture today in the Latin American press of Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela and the Bolivian leftist president, Evo Morales, just laughing it up.
Would you then, I mean,
about this.
judging by what you've just said, then, would you have any doubt then, and I've even had this said to me last night by a good friend of mine who knows what's been going on here for decades. He said right now Raul Castro is sitting back in his chair, he's smoking a big cigar, and he's looking to his friends and saying, we just suckered that fool up in America so badly that we should all just sit back and buy new homes.
No, they cannot believe, the Castros cannot believe their luck. Never in their wildest dreams did they think the President of the United States would come begging them for an agreement. And the word is getting out that the reason the President reached out to Pope Francis was because the Cubans were not responding in the way he wanted them to. They were not accepting his offers.
Yeah, we need to step back a little bit here. Raul Castro didn't do this because he actually loves the Pope.
No, absolutely not. Raul Castro did this because he could not believe that he was getting American money, American investment, American trade, American tourists, all of those things in exchange for simply a promise that he was going to be a good boy for the next 10 or 20 years, which of course he's not going to last that long. He just cannot believe it.
You have worked for presidents before. I got about a minute left here. So from what you're seeing here, is this the worst case of political grandstanding and please kiss my backside because my legacy is going to be greater because of this presidential act?
I think this president looked around, looked at the list of the 6 years of this administration, saw that he has zero foreign policy successes. In fact, what he has is a bunch of humiliations, as in the case of Syria and others. And he figured, okay, where can I give away the store and look to the left of the leftist side of the world as a hero? And I think that's what he did. He said, okay, I'm going to normalize relations with Cuba. I don't care what it does to American prestige or our posture in the world.
Ambassador Reich, we have a lot more to talk about, but unfortunately we are out of time. I'll tell you what, we're going to have you back again because this issue is going to go on for quite some time. We want to thank you very much for joining us, and to you and yours, a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you, same to you.
Take care, Ambassador. Next up after a short break, the new Tea Party for Democrats. And how the midterm election results unleash that president who has got nothing to lose and what else he's now willing to do without a single thought of who it catches off guard.